co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. So you may be aware that government is being asked to suspend the implementation of the Japa Royalties Limited deal until all documents on the SPV and its beneficial owners have been disclosed. The demand has come from the alliance of CSOs working on extractives, anti-corruption and good governance. Before then, we knew that on the political front that entrenched positions taken by the governing NPP on the one hand, which insist there's nothing wrong with the transaction, and the opposition NDC, whose presidential candidate John Dramani Mahama has threatened to dishonor the agreement if he wins power. Yesterday, you heard officials of the two parties articulate their positions right here on the Joy SMS. But today we have persons who stand in the middle to help us put these issues in perspective without any political lenses. So, in a bit, we'll be getting into, the concerns of CSOs and the consequent demand for, if you like, a stay of execution pending full disclosure of information. But right now, my colleague, Kojo Jansen, is in studio, and he will attempt a summary of key issues raised raised against the Japa Royalties deal. Kojo.
Right, thank you, Winston. Now, as you mentioned, yesterday, 15 individual civil society organizations and groups which were organized under the broad fraternity of Alliance of CSOs working on extractives, anti-corruption and good governance, took the Japa debate a notch higher when they called for a suspension of the implementation of the MIIF. Now, some of their demand is that they want all the documents relating to the establishment of the Japa Royalties Limited and its beneficial owners to be disclosed before government continues with the implementation of the deal. Now, about 10 days ago, Parliament approved 5 agreements to basically hedge gold royalties of the country through a Japa Royalties Limited, technically referred to as a Special Purpose Vehicle or SPV. Now, the passage of the agreements became a divisive matter to the extent that the minority boycotted proceedings, having strongly argued that the agreements amounted to mortgaging proceeds from the mineral wealth of the country. Now, it's important to note that a Japa Royalties Limited is incorporated in Jersey. Now, Jersey is a United Kingdom dependent country, which is a known tax haven. The government of Ghana has 51% interest, while fund managers have 49% interest, according to the agreement. Now, Corruption Watch has identified several key issues, but this morning our focus will be on the issues relating to deficits in the procurement processes, as well as deficits in transparency and public accountability. So the first key issue that Corruption Watch has identified relates to the deficit in the procurement processes that were adopted. Now, there are questions around conflict of interest and alleged nepotism that the procurement processes used in this transaction appear to have overlooked. For instance, there is a major concern around the handpicking of the transactional advisors and legal intermediaries by the government, especially because these are politically exposed persons. So in the case of Kofi Osafo-Maafo, the son of the senior minister, the issue people have really is not just because he's the son of the senior minister, Mr. Yao Osafo-Maafo. The key question is, how was he selected for the role? Now, this same question holds for the transaction advisors, which, by the way, include the law firm of Mr. Gabi Asare Ochredakun, who is the president's cousin, another politically exposed person. Now, on the question of transparency and public accountability, issues have been raised around what appears to be the lack of or perhaps inadequate consultation on the bill that eventually passed into the Minerals Income Investment Fund, or MIIF Act 2018, also known as Act 978, with its 2020 amendments. Now, civil society actors, for instance, are arguing that the Act is being implemented in an opaque manner with relatively weak transparency and public oversight arrangements. Now, a key concern of civil society is that it beats their imagination as to why an entity without a corporate strategy, without approved spending plans, will proceed to raise $1 billion and cede $500 million of it to government in what they describe as indecent haste, especially when there is no known national emergency to warrant such a rush.
Well, thank you very much, Kojo, for that detailed presentation. And so wherever you are, just buckle up, because we're launching into a potentially reverting conversation. Once again, my panelists are Dr. Steve Manteana. He wears many hats for our purposes today. He is the chairman of the Alliance of CSOs working on extractive anti-corruption and good governance. He's right here with us in the studio. And Mr. Edem Senano is the co-chair for the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. He's joining us on Zoom, and Samuel Bekwing also joining us on phone. So let me say good morning to you, Edem Senano. Good morning to you, Samuel Bekwing, and good morning, Dr. Steve Manteana.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And I believe all of you are fine.
Yeah.
Yes, you're doing well.
Great. So, Samuel Bekwing works with the Ghana Oil and Gas for Inclusive Growth. He's also joined us. But let me start off with you, Dr. Steve Manteana, and let's get to, the genesis of all this whole problem. Now, the government side has suggested that the process that birthed JAPA deal is rooted in the Minerals Income Investment Fund. Is it the case that the CSOs, let the law slip through without scrutiny?
Precisely so. I keep making the analogy that, look, we passed the Petroleum Revenue Management Act in 2011 and went through implementation phase without any noise. And this was because Professor Amoakon Tofuo, who was a consultant, led a team from the Ministry of Finance to go on national consultations. Issues for discussion were how much do we spend today and how much do we save against tomorrow? How do we spend and where do we spend? What kinds of transparency and accountability requirements we need to safeguard the national interest? All these things were up for discussion. We gave feedback, and that enabled citizens to call for a citizens-led additional public oversight. Since a lot of the times matters before Parliament will turn into an NDC MPP football game, we called for the creation of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee. So all these gave us some assurances that our oil revenues and the petroleum funds that it created were safe. And indeed, these arrangements have been hailed worldwide as one of the best practice models for other countries to emulate. I was in Hungary last year, and I felt proud when at the Central European University, Ghana was cited for praise for the transparency and accountability provisions in its petroleum sector laws, including the management of the funds. We created a fund in the petroleum sector as well. So you ask yourself, why this time there's so much noise? Doing something similar, setting up a fund to manage our mineral royalties. Why so much noise?
Talking about so much noise, what are your concerns?
The concerns basically, look, I went back last night to look at the Mineral Income Investment Act again and compare that with what is being done in terms of implementation. And I noted that all that is being done in terms of implementation are consistent with the law. So fundamentally, the problem is with the law.
Okay.
The law is what has generated all this noise. And that is why I make reference to the Petroleum Revenue Management Act. And that if you have an act that has been praised, in fact, it's actually said to be the best in Africa according to the Resource Governance Index, a global index that is produced annually. It's the best in Africa. So if you are such a model and want to do something in the mining sector, what stops you from modeling it in terms of the accountability to transparency and the good governance principles, modeling it around something that has been hailed as the 13th best in the world among 89 countries? So that's the origin of the problem. And our concerns about the lack of transparency, the lack of accountability, the lack of disclosure requirements in the Minerals Income Investment Fund Act.
Okay, let me get to Edem Senano, because I see you as Edem. You have suggested that the concerns around this transaction go beyond economic argument that government is seeking to spend revenue that is meant for future generations. What are some of these concerns?
Well, thank you. And fundamentally, it is about the processes engaged in to operationalize it as well. There apparently is a management structure in place with people who have been engaged, and there has not been any transparency around it. I like to remind people that Article 35(6)(d) of our Constitution says that the state has a responsibility to make democracy a reality by doing two things. First, decentralizing the financial and administrative machinery of government to the regions and districts. And secondly, by affording all possible opportunities for people to participate in decision-making in national life and in government. This second part of the Constitution is an obligation of the state. So it is not about a token participation, it's about participation that provides legitimacy to policies and acts and things that we do. And we haven't had that level of participation to the extent that this is owned. There's been full disclosure on how management structure has been put in place, the choice of a tax haven and all of that, and an understanding of the economic benefits to be made. So the processes in operationalizing even this have not been clear.
Beyond the processes, what other concerns or challenges do you have with this?
Well, evidently, if one is not too certain of who is involved and therefore the tangible outcomes that we're going to get as benefits, the question is, these resources that are supposed to benefit Ghanaians as a whole and particular areas where these extractions are being done, how do we explain this away in the future? What does it mean to the development agenda of this nation? So we're worried about how we use and manage our resources for development as well, whether indeed doing it this way is going to give us the kind of resolve that allows us to move ahead as a society. And then also, if you're not careful, if there are people who begin to think that one group is aggregating for themselves resources and enriching themselves at the expense of others, that could generate into another kind of conflict that we do not want to see.
All right, so we'll come back to that group, but let me just find out from you before I get to Dr. Mantia Edem. So just tell us, is there a real corruption risk in this transaction? What is it?
Well, there is a corruption risk to the extent that, we say corruption is the abuse of entrusted power for personal gain. Now, to the extent that we can establish that there are persons who have been engaged in aspects of this arrangement using processes that were not equitable, open, and allowing for all the sons and daughters of Ghana who have equal competencies to be able to apply or to be in those positions or to have the same benefits, there is the risk, a very real risk of corruption.
All right, and let me get to you, Samuel Bekwing. Same question to you. Whether there's a risk of corruption in all of this.
Good morning to your listeners, and thank you that we are still sort of discussing this just for the public to know. Yes, when we undertake corruption risk analysis, we use what we call the risk matrix. First of all, the company is registered in the tax haven. And let me give you some few details about tax haven.
Sure, go ahead.
Over the years, there have become more and more information on tax havens. And the problem that these tax havens provide is because these places who have almost less regulations, less tax on dividends, and also some capital that goes into those countries, have become like a prominent feature of this globalized capital market. And their activities create some criminogenic sort of environment in which illicit financial flows are easily, disguised and hidden among legitimate commercial transactions. So you would find out that the fight in Africa against illicit financial flow has been the fact that extractive sector has been one of the target where a lot of monies are moved. Most of them may not be illegitimate, but as we said, they may be illicit, they may be morally wrong. And you can see the crackdown on this marketplace leaks and other leaks that we found as well. And if you look at these countries as well, because of this, I mean, one of the facts about this is that if you look at the global trade, about 50% of the global trade passes through these tax havens. But there is one thing that makes it, even dangerous. Only 3% of the global GDP is contributed by these tax havens. So while there is a lot of trade going there, so as a country, or when you are doing corruption risk, once a company is listed in a tax haven or is registered in a tax haven, you give it additional level of due diligence to make sure people hiding over there are not doing so in order to sort of reduce their tax liabilities. So that is one. And as a government, as Dr. Steve has said it on many platforms, we have signed up to illicit fight against illicit financial flows, money laundering, terrorist financing, all of which we are putting in measures. And I have been leading this as well with Dr. Steve and Emmanuel and other CSOs. The implementation of beneficial ownership disclosure, saying that every business that we do, and even in the extractives, it includes companies who invest in this country, companies we trade with, companies producing here, companies operating here. We are supposed to ensure that their beneficial ownership details are sort of disclosed. And so when you talk about corruption risk, there are so many angles that you can say it is sort of a platform for us to look into whether there is corruption in this. One, it is registered in a tax haven. Two, there is some names that have come up, which is politically exposed persons. It makes it very easy target for you to look at further investigation to see whether there has been corruption in there. Three, in terms of the entire deal, was not well sort of consulted. The consultation was very low, and that makes it a risk to look at that as well. And then four, you could see that, as Dr. Steve said, while the deal was not consulted, it was also rushed through the processes in terms of our governance process, the parliament as well. It was rushed through to get it passed as soon as possible. And then these are the risks that call for further investigation and further questioning of whether there is corruption in this deal or not. So when you say that there are corruption risk, yes, that is how you undertake corruption risk assessment. You look at these, what we call red flags. And once you see these red flags, you launch further investigation to look at. And yesterday, I watched PM Express to look at, listen to the deputy minister talk about the fact that they had done a headhunting. It is quite sad that you said you had done headhunting and many people. We need more information. Who are the other people? You don't need to disclose their name, but disclose their qualifications as well. What shows that the son of the senior minister was the best among the others? Who did you even contact? Are you saying you don't have those many Ghanaians with similar qualifications in Ghana here? We have many of them here. And therefore, you can't just justify that because you did headhunting. And the headhunting had involved more than one person. It was an open process. It wasn't an open process. And this is something that we've been talking about. Some state companies are doing headhunting, and I've never seen them publish any sort of position online before, or even call for application. And that is not the best when it comes to governance. So yes, there is rare corruption risk, and we need to further investigate or ask for more questions that the government should provide such information to us.
Chris, let me get back to you, Dr. Steve Mantia in studio, and I ask you the same question, whether there's a real corruption risk in all of this?
I will only be repeating what my colleagues have said. Indeed, I said that, look, in the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, we dealt with all these potential corruption risk in trying to make sure that, one, we had an additional public oversight over the management of the petroleum revenues and the management of the petroleum funds. Again, you find that in the current arrangement, there is no such oversight. And so that actually provides opportunities for rent seeking and all that.
Okay.
Besides that, I think citizens' participation helps to address the risk. And so one would have expected that at least citizens' involvement would have been encouraged in the whole discussions around the implementation of the Minerals Income Investment Fund Act.
Okay.
Again, you find largely that, unlike in the petroleum sector where the Minister of Finance is required to present an annual reconciliation report on the management of petroleum revenues, including the petroleum funds, to Parliament as part of the budgetary arrangements, there is no such requirement on the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources to produce such a report to Parliament. And again, let me say that in the recent amendment to the Mineral Income Investment Fund Act, I saw something that for me raised great concern within me. and that is the provision that mandates Ijapa Royalty, in this case a special purpose vehicle, to raise money from wherever it chooses, in whatever currency, and does not have to come and seek permission from anybody, not even Parliament. That for me is a very serious corruption risk that must be addressed in the Act.
Okay. Now, a few days ago, we know that the MIIF actually issued a statement to respond to questions that Ghanaians have raised about the Ijapa transaction.
Yes.
Are you saying, in spite of all those answers provided, you still have questions that remain unanswered?
I come back to the point that the law on the basis of which we are implementing this whole Ijapa mineral royalty project is faulty. It lacks adequate transparency and accountability provisions. It has no proper public oversight. Even Parliament's oversight over the process has been weakened by the introduction of a clause which allows Ijapa royalties to do what it chooses. It means we've actually sold our destiny to a company. That for me is wrong.
And talking about selling our destiny to a company, in your opinion, and I'm coming to you, this one's very direct to you, in your opinion, whose interests is the deal going to serve?
For sure, I can say it's not going to serve the national interest. The national interest has been compromised in this whole arrangement. And that is why we've come out, because in the course of the development of this country, we need to have people who can stand up and protect the interests of the state. And if our members of parliament will not do it, then we as citizens have to rise to do this ourselves. Look, many a times issues come before parliament and you expect parliamentarians to take a very nationalistic approach to the discussions and the decisions. But then you hear and look at what happened in the case of the sale of Ghana Telecom to Vodafone. Didn't we hear Apio Fori come out to say that parliamentarians took $5,000 each, and that a certain president didn't get the $5,000 because he was not in parliament on that day? This is the way they shortchange the nation. And so sometimes we citizens have to police what our members of parliament do. I do not think that any member of parliament went back to the constituency to consult their people on this matter when he came before the floor. We turned democracy on its head, and people who are supposed to represent us go to parliament and represent themselves and their interests.
We'll come back to the latest corruption watch on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM, because you're also calling for the suspension of the agreement till further consultations are had. We'll come back and address all of that. We still have Adam Senanu on the phone and Samuel Bekwing also on the phone. Kojo Anson is also here with me, and we'll continue after these messages.
What would you do if you have the choice to do anything in life? Build your dream house, take very good care of your family, and plan for a comfortable retirement. Plan a befitting funeral for your loved ones when they depart. How would you live if you knew there was a friend waiting to support you on all of your life's choices?
You have such a friend in Glyco Life Insurance. Glyco Life has all the plans to meet your life's needs: your child's education, your life savings, your mortgage, funerals, redundancy, and your retirement, and takes the burden off your shoulders. So go ahead and live life to the fullest today with Glyco Life Insurance plans. And remember that all our policies are hedged against inflation. Talk to Glyco Life on 0302 218 500 or 246 142. Also visit our website at www.glycolife.com or any of our branches nationwide for more information.
Glyco Life, we cushion you for life.
Glyco, we cushion you for life.
Same great bang. Because the greatest things are born from the smallest of thoughts. Just as your seeds in a rich soil grow to become trees that bear fruits, the Agricultural Development Bank, ADB, helps you sow, invest, nurture, and grow your personal and business plans by serving you with years of banking ingenuity and experience in agribusiness, corporate and commercial banking, consumer finance, e-banking, and many more through our network branches across the country. Whatever the culture, whatever the dream, we grow with you. Call us today on 0302-210-210 or visit www.agricbank.com. ADB, truly agric and more.
Wait, what's going on? What's with all the excitement?
Jackie, did you see Mark's place or was it just me? I mean, did you see the decor of this guy's home and his home office? That is enough evidence of his high performance even in this work from home season. Look, have you ever received healing from just using a good chair? It's a miracle.
Oh, wow, didn't you know? He actually got everything from Orca Deco. And it's not just that, it is so affordable.
Jackie, so you knew and you didn't tell me? I'm going to Orca Deco now. Locate Orca Deco showrooms in Accra off the Spintex Road, Kumasi opposite Breweries. Orca Deco. Best value, best price.
Syndicated Capital introduces the Silent Night range of luxury mattresses and pillows. And for the first time, the Silent Night pregnancy and nursing pillows, crafted to provide exceptional relief for your legs, belly, and back during pregnancy, as well as amazing back support feeding your baby. No more sleepless nights and no more hustle with breastfeeding. Check out the Super Pillow Top Orthopedic Mattress, made with 12 inches of memory foam cushioning, providing unparalleled comfort and guaranteed to last for 20 years. No mattress comes close in comfort and support. Also available are high-quality bird sheets, reversible quills, a large collection of orthopedic pillows and luxurious towels at unbelievable prices. Silent Night products are available at all Melcom shops, game stores, and Silent Night showrooms at Tema, Asylum Down, Adenta, Spintex Road, and Kumasi behind Ninshia Palace, or call 0302-242532 or 050-131-5776. Silent Night. Sleep like never before.
DSTV no dey disappoint. We get more than 20 live matches every week from the best leagues in the world, like the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, plus the Champions League. Upgrade to Compact Plus now or buy a DSTV Zappa decoder for 229 Ghana cedis with 1 month access. They make you stay connected or reconnected to us from only 45 Ghana cedis per month. Make you download and stream live your favorite games anywhere, anytime with the DSTV Now app. Won't pay we now pay ding. DSTV. Feel every moment.
Unbeatable deals are reigning in the Samsung Blue Tag sale. If your home isn't powered by Samsung yet, hey, this is your chance. We have prices for every pocket and appliances that are the best. So check this out. Our satellite TV starts from as low as 899 Ghana cedis for the 32-inch, 1,499 for 40-inch, and 3,999 for the 55-inch. And if you want our QLED TV, it's 7,999 Ghana cedis for a 55-inch, and this pairs perfectly with our 500-watt tall Bluetooth speakers going for 1,499 Ghana cedis. Get your Samsung fridges starting at 1,999 Ghana cedis, with the Twin Cooling Plus going for 2,999. Our inverter ACs start at 2,999 Ghana cedis with a free AC guard. And guess what? All our washing machines come with a free Ariel Auto Wash detergent. You know what? Just walk into a Samsung shop or authorized dealer for the best deals in the Samsung Blue Tag sale. Samsung. Imagine what we can build.
At a cost of 15 pesos per message, subscribe and text JF to 8787 to receive SMS news alerts, business, sports and entertainment updates from Joy FM, My Joy Online, and Joy News, your most credible news source.
Our money, when our money, our money, when our money,
Coffee in your cup. Enjoy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best on Joy 99.7 FM.
I'm telling what I like. Someone with you. Let me back again. Yeah. No, hit it back. What you say now? What, yeah. Alongside Man and Morris. Baby face. What you say now? Money, Africa money, I got the top on Fuga. Wanna money, money, Africa money, I got the top on Fuga. Yeah, top on Danga.
Alright, so welcome back and thank you very much for staying with us. This is Corruption Watch on the Super Morning Show. And today our focus is on the Ejapa Mineral Royalties Agreement. And we have deficits in integrity in procurement, transparency, and public accountability. And my experts are doing justice to the topic. Dr. Steve Mantel Adam Senanu and Samuel Bekwing. But you know we are one nation, one Ghana card, and the journey continues. Registration for the new Ghana card is back on, and so from the 24th of August to the 8th of September, every single eligible Ghanaian who has not registered for the new Ghana card will get a chance to do so in the NIA's mop-up registration exercise in the Greater Accra region. The time to establish our identity as Ghanaians has come. Let's do it with pride and safety. All necessary COVID-19 safety precautions such as registration equipment being sanitized after each use, physical distancing, hand washing stations, and compulsory wearing of masks for all registrants and NIA officials will be observed. And remember that if you're not a Ghanaian and if you are younger than 15 years of age, do not register because you cannot register. Make sure to get your birth certificate, passport, or valid certificate of acquired citizenship with you. And if you do not have any of these documents, a relative, issued with a Ghana card or two members of the community selected from a list of professionals and public servants who have been registered and issued with a Ghana card can vouch for you under oath. You'll also need your digital address code. It's time to establish our identity as Ghanaians. Let's do it with pride and safety. Look out for NIA officials and announcement vans in your area. Ghana card connectivity, access, and progress for all. Fashion information is a great source of power, and so while we celebrate graphic at 70 and counting, we also believe our content, which is accepted as truth and accuracy every day, should be accessible on the go. Access your favorite daily graphic and other weeklies as the Mirror, Graphic Showbiz, Graphic Business, and Geographic and Graphic Sports on Graphic News Plus app, and enjoy up to 30% discount on your daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, half-yearly or annual subscription as that suits your wallet. And this offer is valid till October 31, 2020. Don't miss it. Download Graphic News Plus app on the Google Play Store, App Store as you remain abreast of and keep pace with the changing times on the go. Please stay safe, stop the spread, and always be the bearer of credible news from Graphic Communications Group Limited. Graphic truth and accuracy every day. Graphic News Plus, connecting people through news. But MTN understands that the best things in life should be easy to enjoy, and that's why it's now extra simple to buy your preferred data bundles on star 138 hash on MTN. You can now purchase all your data bundles via a simpler menu on star 138 hash and bundle away at your own convenience. Go on and enjoy the simpler, easier, and more convenient way of buying data that does not expire on MTN, because we're good together. MTN, we day for you everywhere you go.
Every day for chief, one day for chef. We don't consider men and triggers every day. One our money, our money, African money, okay, the top on Fuga. One our money, African money, okay, the top on Fuga. It is top on Danga, okay, the top on Nafu.
All right, so let's go back to the conversation and our focus on the Japan Minerals Royalty Agreement. We're focusing on deficit and integrity in procurement, transparency, and public accountability. Dr. Steve Mantia is still here with us. We have Adam Senanu on phone with Samuel Bekwing. So, Dr. Mantia, you've called for a suspension. Since the call for suspension, have you been engaged by any of the persons in authority?
Well, I think so far the responses are positive. There's been some indication in official responses the expressing intent on engaging and providing more information on the deal. So we look forward to those engagements. There's an attempt by certain officials also contacting me while we are in studio. So I want to believe that the approach so far has proven reconciliatory, and we hope that we'll be able to repair whatever damage that needs to be repaired in this whole transaction.
Okay. Adam, I mean, listening to Dr. Mantia say some approaches have been made, it means the CSOs are getting some results, isn't it?
Yes, and that's good, because in an
Adam, if you could kindly reposition yourself, we can hardly hear you.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, it's better now. Go ahead.
All right. I was saying that, I mean, this is good news, because in an election year, you don't want a situation where friendly fire turns into an open conflict with civil society having to speak against government. That would not augur well. And so it is good to ensure that they bring us to the table. Let's go through what has transpired. Let's have confidence and bring legitimacy to what it is that government wants to do. Until the people own it, there's no legitimacy. So the constitutional obligation for them to provide the platform, spaces, and channels for citizens to participate and influence the decision making is crucial.
Great. Let me get to you, Samuel. And in your earlier submission, you talked about answers to, for instance, the son of Osafo Maafo and those who are politically exposed. The minister, or Deputy Minister of Finance, even the Information Minister, has said if somebody qualifies, irrespective of, whose son that person is, can't the person be given a position in this country or in the government?
This is one of the reasons why I think this should be, let me say, the anchor for government to start educating even government staff on what we call public duty versus private interest. And that's what we call something called conflict of interest. It is not that somebody who qualifies cannot hold a public position when the person is politically exposed. However, because we know that your private interest will always be ahead of your public duty, of course, if somebody is in a position in government, a prominent public position, it is always that the person, regardless of the level of integrity, may favor their own family or associate over others. And that is why we call something that when you know that you are in a position and your family member may come into those areas, you recuse yourself. Sometimes you even resign from that process so that it will be a fair process, so you don't have anything to do with it. Because, do you know why? Because always, you cannot deal with that. Your private interest is always higher than your public duty. And that's why we say that. What we are saying is that if such person is a politically exposed person, first of all, there needs to be a disclosure even before the process starts. That we are going to start this process. This is very, very transparent. We're going to start this process. And this person is a politically exposed person who has expressed interest. And therefore, anybody who has something to do with that person, either an associate or family member, should not be part of this process. Of course, the Deputy Minister talked about the fact that they had hired a company to do the headhunting. But even because this involved politically exposed persons, I even think that it shouldn't have been headhunting. It should have been an open process where you publish and people would have applied instead of doing headhunting. Why the rush to do headhunting? Because you do headhunting when you are pressed with time sometimes, or certain specific skills that require long-term experience, even beyond 20 years, that sometimes you would think that not many people have that experience, and therefore you are doing headhunting because you know some people who have that specialized skill. But with this one, I can see Ghana has been mining gold for so many years. Many Ghanaians have worked in investment banking. You can't just tell me that there are very, very few people in Ghana who have experience when it comes to managing funds related to investment in gold. And that is very important because when I have traveled across Africa, I have seen many Ghanaians who have taken their skills from here to other African countries. And that shows that there's so many years of, gold production or mining that have built such skills that is even now being sold to other African countries. So what we are saying is that once there is a politically exposed person, first the disclosure has to go beyond a usual disclosure. You need to ensure that you update the public on every step of the process, every stage you get into. Okay. And that is what we are asking for. So in case, because there is a politically exposed person, it raises the risk. And therefore the only way you can deal with the risk is when you ensure that you publish enough information and you make sure anybody related to such person recuses themselves or even resign themselves from that activity so that they can't have any favoritism in there or nepotism in there. That is what we are asking for.
Let me get Adam Sanano's take on this. I mean, people recusing themselves and resigning. Is that the same view you also share?
Yes. I mean, when we look at the issue of potential conflict of interest, it is the responsibility of a public officer or somebody who is to be put in a to examine the facts and see, is this going to put me into a potential conflict of interest? To the extent that, and by the way, Kofi is my classmate, so this is not about his competencies. It's about looking at, okay, my dad is in this position, my family is in this position, this is how it would be seen, this is how it would be deemed, this is the kind of impression it might lead to. And under those circumstances, unless you've done a very thorough thing where we can say that the citizens were all informed, everybody knows that there was clear, transparent, everybody had opportunity. It's a very risky thing to get yourself into, because it will be seen first as a conflict of interest, and next then your judgment on how the decisions you take in that position will all be clouded by this fact. So yes, I agree that in such circumstances, the best thing is to either recluse yourself or else it should have that declaration that this is the position I find myself in, and therefore am I allowed to proceed, etc. Full transparency. Otherwise, it does not augur well for the confidence in what might transpire in terms of decision making. And if there are any difficulties, it will be pointed out that this is what happened.
Right. Thank you very much, Adam Senanu and Samuel Bekwing, for joining us. We're grateful to you.
And thank you too.
Right, so that's Adam Senanu and Samuel Bekwing, who joined us on phone. I still have Dr. Steve Mantiao in studio. So, Dr. Mantiao, attempts are being made, but in case they do not meet the things you want, you've called for a suspension, you've called for further, discussions. If those are not done, what will be your next line of action?
Well, every step of the way when we took that decision to intervene in order to protect the national interest, we've been consulting among ourselves. I cannot sit here and take a decision for the broader collective. So definitely when we get to the point where we realize that government is adamant and is not willing to make the necessary changes as to safeguard the national interest, I'm pretty sure the larger group will take that decision, and I'll go with them.
Great. Talking about the larger group, Kojo Yankson. And I like it when I mention your full name. So,
yeah, it sounds like I'm about to be told off.
Yeah.
Winston, I think the civil society organizations have really elevated the conversation to another level, and I see in there some responsibilities for the media as well, as a result of the things that have been brought up in this discussion. So I see four things that the media should pay some attention to. The first one is that the media should give the government and the sponsors of this deal the opportunity to give as much information as possible to the audience. The platform should be given to them, because the messaging is currently a little bit mixed. You have to ask yourself, if the government of Ghana is setting up a business in a tax haven, what is the messaging there? Is it not... what justification will they have to discourage others from avoiding tax? So if somebody is currently investing in Ghana, what stops that person from de-investing and going to invest in a tax haven if the government itself is doing it? How does the Ghana, the GIPC, go on a roadshow now to encourage people to come and invest in Ghana when the government of Ghana is investing in tax havens? So the messaging is mixed, and we need to give them the platform to explain that. Two, we need to keep an eye on the reasons they are giving for these decisions, okay? Is it true that if they set up in a tax haven, it's actually a better option for investors? Will investors not come to Ghana if the company is set up here? Three, we need to pay attention to the procurement issues that have been raised, okay? Let's ask the questions as the media. In fact, is everybody who has been chosen qualified for the job? Yes. Okay. Is it the market that is saying they are qualified, or is it some person in government who is saying they are qualified and handpicking them for the job? Finally, let us pay attention to what the investments are used for. We've already heard that they plan to use some of the dividends to actually go and invest in other mines. Does that not defeat the purpose? If you're getting dividends from royalties, which is the safest revenue stream from the extractive sector, then you take those dividends and then you go and invest them in a mine. So if the mine fails, you lose your money. Are you not defeating the purpose of taking these safe royalties, guaranteed revenue, and then putting it in a risky venture? So let's keep an eye on these things. These are the four things I think the media can do to help the discourse.
All right, thank you very much, Kojo Yankson, and thank you also, Dr. Steve Mantiao. We're grateful that you made time to join us this morning on Corruption Watch on the Super Morning Show. But for all of us, in our own small way, we can help in the fight against corruption. Can you reach us on the Corruption Watch hotline 055-22-000-3 or our WhatsApp number 05522000033 or 05545369295. Or you can visit our website www.corruptionwatchghana.org for more information. And the partners are CDD Ghana, Ghana Integrity Initiative, Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, Africa Center for International Law and Accountability (ACILAC), and the multimedia platforms Joy FM and Adore FM, with sponsorship from Danida.
I think you know Africa before, and yet we get more.